Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Neoni. I am joined by my colleague, Amelia Gaitan. Say hi, Amelia. Hello. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. I would like to first begin our presentation with a thank you to our wonderful guest speakers this afternoon and for the collaboration that we've had with Monterey County Human Resource Department as well as Monterey County's Veterans Service Office. And thank you so much for taking the time off your guys' busy schedule and doing a presentation with us. Some of the house rules, please make sure that your microphone is on mute. Video is welcomed if you would like to join us by video. This webinar is also going to be recorded, so be mindful of that as well. And please hold any of your questions towards the end. We are going to have some live time or live presentation. So there'll be an opportunity for you to ask your question during that time. But please, for everything else, just make sure that you can type your questions in the chat box or just hold off until we get to the Q&A. So without further delay, I would like to introduce our presenters today by beginning with our first question. What is your name and what do you do?
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Julia Lenta. I'm an associate personnel analyst for the County of Monterey. What that is essentially human resources. So I am a generalist for the county handling all things related to human resources. So benefits, employee relations, performance management, recruitment, training and development, you name it, it's within my spectrum of what I do.
Perfect. So I am Jason Cameron. I am the Director of Military and Veterans Affairs for the County of Monterey as well as San Benito. And what our office does is we help connect veterans, spouses, dependents to the different benefits that they have earned or are entitled to, be it federal or state benefits. Also am a subject matter expert for the county, and in this case with the HR team, helping really understand the nuance of the veteran world and making sure that we're doing everything we can to incorporate veterans into our workforce.
Wonderful. And as far as what it is that you guys do, what is the best thing about your job, Julie?
I have worked in many different types of industries. I've worked for nonprofit, for-profit, and government. And I think, the best part about what I do is it really centers around people. And, the fact that so much of my time is helping to establish a platform where people can be successful and enjoy what they do on a daily basis in their jobs. And so a lot of what I do does center around making it an enjoyable environment for people.
Awesome. What about you, Jason? What's the best thing about what you do? And you're on mute, Jason.
There it is. All right, thank you. So this will be the real honest truth with this, okay? What I love about what I do is not necessarily what I do per se, but who I do it for. And it's for the veterans of the county, and it's also because of the environment that I have working here in this county. So organizations are as good as their people, right? So we're the county government. And I'll tell you, I work with and know every county government throughout the state as far as what I do. And I love the people that I work for here, both internally and externally. And that's really what brings me pleasure, is to be able to do what I do in an environment that I want to do it in and be appreciated on both sides of that fence and really make life-changing differences for the veterans that we serve in the county.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So our next question, this is primarily going to be towards the HR. What's it like to work for Monterey County? What's the culture like, the people? And also, what kind of challenges does Monterey County offer for their employees?
So with regards to the culture, I think, it's a difficult question to some extent, but we are a culture where people can come and enjoy what they do on a daily basis. It's how to phrase this. Our culture is defined many ways by different areas. Well, let me back up. We have different divisions within the county. So it's not just, we are one umbrella of an employer, but we have several departments, several agencies. And within each of our agencies, there's a different culture that is defined by the group that works within it. We strive to ensure consistency and fairness, equitable treatment. We try to ensure that we are promoting an environment where there's a grow your own culture, one where people can begin a career and
at this time. Goodbye.
Did I lose you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry about that. Somebody had their mic on mute. I got them.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you lost me and I was going to keep talking. But our culture is one where we really strive to ensure retention, and so we provide lots of opportunity for continued growth within the county, whether it be within one department or whether it's continuing to grow and get new opportunities countywide. I think that is one of the key elements of the culture that has stood out to me in the time that I've been with the county. Yeah, I'm not sure how else to elaborate on that. Jason, do you have any thoughts beyond that?
You know what? I think that you really went down the right path with that, and it's absolutely true. Monterey County not only has really embraced a culture of cultivating its own and helping to create succession planning and getting buy-in from every level of staff. Everybody's voice is absolutely heard. It's not this, top-driven hierarchy that's just, overwhelming. It's really, I can speak for my group especially. One of the things that I talk about for my department is, look, nobody's over anybody. We're all spokes in the wheel. Everybody has our own job to do. We have different jobs to do, but nobody's more important than the other. Right. So, and I think that really is kind of the feeling that I have in the county, is that nobody's really more important than anybody. We're all spokes in this big wheel, and I love that. And the inclusion piece is out there, and the diversity piece that everybody everywhere else talks about. But I will say that the difference in Monterey is that they really are taking a leadership approach to it and really driving home real policies that really help us really create an environment where we all can succeed, and veterans fit squarely in to the overall goals of the county and where the county wants to go in the next years. And so I'm super excited to be a part of the county, not only to be a part of it, but to also be a veteran in it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for sharing.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. So this next step is you're going to be presenting some stuff for us, Julie. So for our audience, this will be an opportunity for you guys to unmute yourself and ask any questions that pertains to the presentation, and then we can continue asking further questions from there. But if you have questions regarding what's being presented, please feel free to unmute and then ask your questions. And we'll go ahead and continue.
Okay. So I'm going to do a share screen. Are you able to see the Human Resources Department page right in front?
Yes.
Fantastic. Let me move this over and make sure it doesn't mess with it. So you can still see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I wanted to take an opportunity from what I'm understanding as being one of the core functions and what we're trying to achieve today is to introduce you more to the County of Monterey and what opportunities we have available and how you can go about pursuing a career with the county. And so I think the number one stop that I wanted to make was introducing you to our Human Resources webpage, where you can find additional information pertaining to the current vacancies, as well as additional information regarding how to become aware of opportunities when they become available. So this is the Human Resources webpage for the County of Monterey. The job opportunities can be found here. So if you click on this, it will open up this page. So we do have the County of Monterey and Natividad, and it is separate while we are still still underneath the umbrella of the county. There are different opportunities on each of these locations. So if you are pursuing and wanting to see the true full spectrum of what is offered, I would recommend visiting both of them. So if you click on here, it does show you the different opportunities that are currently posted. The duration of time that we have postings open varies dependent on the position. So there have been numerous instances when a position may only be open for a week. There are instances in time when it might be open for a month. So really knowing and setting yourself up for success to become aware when something does open is critical. And so just to show you an example here, this is the full list of what we have currently available. I believe there's about 42 jobs currently on there. If you're looking for something specific, you can do a search. So for example, nurse. So here is some openings for a nurse position. So when you click on it, it'll open up additional information regarding the position opening. One thing I wanted to point out specifically is in the upper right-hand corner, there is an apply button. This is how you can apply. This is the most effective way to apply for any position opening. And the way that the system is set up, you have the ability to establish let me see if I can get back in here, sorry. You have the ability to establish a profile. It's a little bit of a time-consuming process up front, where you'll be able to put in all of your employment history, everything that you have that you would want to put on an application. However, the system will remember what you've put in there before. Once you've gone through the process once, it makes it a lot easier to apply to other opportunities within the county. I deviate away from that. So over here, online employment application guide, this is a step-by-step process for establishing your profile. So it walks you through creating the account, finding the jobs, applying for the jobs, checking application status, and so on. One of the things that this is a resource I would recommend following along as you set up your profile. But like I said, the first time it's a little bit intimidating as you're going through to input the information, but because the system remembers it, it makes it easy to apply for pretty much any other jobs following that initial setup. So it's an investment in time, but well worth it. I do want to also, let's see, where are we? Receiving notifications when a position becomes available. We have something called a job interest card. So if you go on here and let's say that you are a nurse or wanting to find a position that is related to nursing, or say land use, mental health, in libraries, human resources, you can actually complete this form, and then when a job opening becomes available, you'll receive a notification that a new posting is up. And like I said, the postings vary in the length and duration of time that they're open. Final filing dates are just that. So if you've passed the final filing date, unfortunately, you would not be able to submit for consideration for the position. So it's critical that you do that you submit it in the time period that it's open. The way that the county runs our recruitments, we essentially well, there's various ways that we run our recruitments, but like I said, there's priority screening dates and final filing dates. Final filing dates are a critical date to ensure that you get all of your materials submitted by then. Most of our positions have supplemental questions. This is super critical to the process. I'm going to go to an example here. Go back to a job. Supplemental questions are questions that you would need to respond to in order to be considered for the position. So under questions here, and it'll prompt you through it as you apply, but you'll see that the response to supplemental questions must be submitted with your application materials. If you do not respond to supplemental questions, you can be screened out despite your background experience. You could be the most qualified person in all of the people that are applying, but if you do not fully respond to the supplemental questions, it can result in a disqualification. Additionally, one of our common practices is that we have subject matter experts that go through and screen the supplemental questions to determine your qualifications related to the position. What that means is that if you are not thorough in your response to the supplemental questions, despite what your resume or application may say, it can also result in you not being placed on an eligibility list for consideration. Eligibility lists, which is different than in a public sector, private sector, nonprofit, in some of the other areas or arenas. When you apply for a position, there's not really a duration of time. The way that we do it, we go through an extensive screening process, establish the eligibility list, and the eligibility list has a lifespan, generally of 6 months, sometimes longer. It's infrequent that we would ever open up that opportunity for that job classification while there is an existing eligibility list. So if you were looking for an accountant position within this classification that I have as an example up here, once the eligibility list is established for this opportunity won't become available for new consideration, for more people to apply for it, likely until the expiration of the eligibility list, and then there's another need prompting another recruitment. So one of the things that stands out that you should definitely be mindful of if you're considering employment within a government sector is that our recruitment processes are a lot more robust. There's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes, and it takes a lot longer than typically seen in the private sector. And so you may apply today and not hear anything for a month and a half. That's not incredibly uncommon in the government sector because of the lengths that we go through in our screening processes. Additionally, some of the positions may require an exam, so you apply for it and then may be invited to participate in an exam as part of the establishment of the eligibility list. That may be part of that process as well. I want to take a pause for a moment and ask if there are any questions at this point in time related to what I've shared. I know that's kind of a lot.
So just to summarize, you have showed us some employment opportunities within the county. You've also showed us how to create a profile and also receive notifications of those employment opportunities. And you've also spoke about some of the application process based on the questionnaires or the supplemental questions. If anybody has any questions regarding that, please unmute your mic, or you could put it into the chat box and we'll go ahead and ask.
Okay. So some of the other elements, if you are just starting to do that career pivot and you're looking for what are the opportunities that may exist within the county beyond what's available right now, what are the different types of jobs that we offer, and do they meet your personal criteria? So whether or not it's based on, like I said, a career pivot that you are intentional in doing, some of the key information that you would want to look at is being familiar with the job spec. What is the job description for the positions that we offer to ensure that it's in alignment with what your ultimate career aspirations are? Additionally, compensation-wise, does it fit within your desires and needs financially. So if you go to, and let me go back up to the County of Monterey main web page. And the job opportunities, where are we? Sorry, back to Human Resources homepage. There we go. Okay, so if you are curious and wanting to look further at what are the different job opportunities that we may, or job positions that we may have that would trigger you to want to put in a job interest card to be notified should they become available, you can go to our main Human Resources page where under Human Resources, we do have class specifications and salary schedules. I'm going to go over to salary schedules because it directly links to the classification as well, because I find this to be the most effective way to pursue on my end. But let's say that you are interested in an assistant planner classification and you're wanting to see what exactly is the compensation range for that. Within the government entity, we have 7 steps to every salary for a classification. So we have gone through extensive process to identify if the compensation for the positions that we have are competitive with the industry standards. And so we go through a class and comp kind of process with that in order to determine what is appropriate compensation for the position. And then those are put on the website through the salary schedule. So for the assistant planner classification, you can see the monthly compensation range from step 1 to step 7. As somebody that potentially would be coming in new to the county, you would need to know that that really is it. It's one of those 7 steps. We don't negotiate outside of the defined steps. So let's say that you come to the table with prior experience in land use and community development and could easily step into the position and have a certain amount of experience and want to negotiate at the start of your position. You may, for example, negotiate into a step 3. You would be eligible for an additional step increase basically annually, and there are some exceptions like during the probationary period where we could also consider additional steps based on performance and other factors. But once you get to that step 7, in order to be considered for additional advancement, financial increases beyond cost of living increases or COLAs, you could look at career growth and development, which you don't have to all the way get all the way up to step 7 before you can do, but that is going to be your best opportunity for continuing to receive increases, whether it's going from the assistant planner to a senior planner position or a planning services manager position. So we do, as I had mentioned, we really, within what I have experienced within the county, we are very much a grow your own culture. We embrace bringing in new individuals from outside the county, but when I say grow your own, when we bring somebody in, we try to establish a training plan that will help to promote their success in their existing position, but also will help them to be positioned for continued growth, potentially, for example, in this instance, to a senior planner. So we're doing the best we can to ensure that we're setting people up for career success. And I think that our retention rates and our ability to retain staff for longer windows of time than you would typically see in the industries today are in part because of that. So if you were wanting to learn more about the assistant planner classification as one of the examples, the easiest way for me is when looking at the salary schedule, you can actually click on it and it will bring you directly to the classification. So now let's say that you're going in and you're saying, well, I would need to, in order to meet my financial needs, I would need to make a certain amount per month. Maybe this isn't a classification. If you would have to be starting at step 7 and then, really have no potential growth while staying within the classification financially until you receive additional experience. That might not be a classification you would want to pursue, but all of them are listed on here on the website. And of course, it's now gone outside of that. So the classifications are all listed on the website. I would recommend perusing through, seeing if there's anything that fits with the objectives that you have, and then completing a job interest form. I would also highly recommend going in and establishing a profile that will allow you to be able to apply with ease at the time you find a opportunity that interests you. Be especially conscientious of when the closing dates are with each of the opportunities that we present, because we really don't have a tremendous amount of flexibility in adding an additional applications following a close date. We have to be fair and equitable in the process, which means that we give everybody the fair opportunity to apply within the time frame that's provided and established through our exam plan. Questions?
Yes. So does the County of Monterey offer internships or on-the-job training opportunities?
Yes, we do. So we do have an internship program. A lot of, on the website, we do have positions that are posted as intern opportunities and resources. However, if you have a specific career path in mind, for example, within what I do, I'm supporting the public works, facilities and parks, and then I also previously have been supporting housing and community development. So we've had lots of instances when people have reached out to us asking us if there is an internship opportunity that is available despite not yet being presented or posted on our website. So we've offered paid internships and unpaid internships. So dependent on our capacity to take on and provide a positive and growth-filled experience, a skill-building experience for any potential interns, we have had instances in time where we've been able to build out a internship opportunity when somebody has come to us saying, hey, I have a background in education and education related to water resources and conservation. And so they've pitched to us, hey, this is what I'm trying to learn. Is there a compatibility between what I'm trying to gain experience doing and your needs? And then we've been able to have constructive conversation that's led to opportunities that aren't necessarily listed on the website, but that we've identified mutual benefit as a result. So we've been able to do that as well. But you can go through on our internship program, and generally when in instances when that's happened, we've been in partnership with our Central Human Resources or Human Resources Department to ensure that we're going through and inputting information in here and going through the appropriate steps. But I just want you to know that it is fluid, and we have some flexibility to explore opportunities.
So in comparison to the application process of internship as well as the regular positions you guys have offered, is there any difference in the actual process in itself, or is it the same?
It's a little bit different. So with the typical application process for employment, we would have a pretty robust supplemental questions that is a common practice. With internship opportunities, it's more of a standard application that you would complete, expressing interest and communicating what it is that you're hoping to achieve throughout your internship experience with skill building. What we strive to ensure is that any opportunities that we present to individuals with relation to internships is that it's a meaningful experience and an impactful experience for not just what we get out of it, but for the intern. So are we able to provide the individual that's coming on board with a level of experience that will render them to be more qualified when they go into the work world? Not to say internship isn't working, but to say that it's a resume builder. It helps to get real world experience in an avenue or an arena where they may have a educational background, but they don't necessarily have that transferable real life experience hands-on. And so we strive to ensure that the opportunities that we're presenting have that meaningful impact to ensure that it's not just paper pushing. We don't want to bring somebody in that isn't going to be able to walk away with something really important that they can put in their toolbox.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the information. And so what advice would you give to our veterans when applying for a position at Monterey?
I'm going to defer over to Jason on that one because I think that's your arena best.
All right. Well, you know what? You kind of nailed a few of the things that are common, right? So the common things, and I think the most important things, regardless really of the veteran status or not, but just to make sure that you're doing everything you can to make sure you can get where you want to get, is number one, those job interest cards are super important because these time frames are usually fairly short that a job opportunity is open. So you would have to be, consistently looking on the website to make sure you don't miss something. So if you're serious about coming on board with the county, do the job interest cards and be frequently checking the website because when an opportunity shows up, you want to be able to apply. Once that happens, I would say that you really want to make sure that you indicate on your application and resume that you did serve in the military. There are times where folks just kind of leave that off. They omit it because they don't think it has anything to do with the job at hand that they're applying to. Maybe you were in the infantry, or maybe you were in military police, maybe you were whatever, and you don't think that it's applicable. For Monterey County, it's absolutely applicable because we understand the value that a veteran brings to the table, and we understand that it's more than just your MOS or your AFSC if you're in the Air Force. So that's really important. I would also include a copy of your DD-214 with your application package to really solidify the fact that you are a veteran applying to this position. So those are important things. When going through the job rec, so the job requisition, when you click on that job requisition and it pops up the job and you're thinking to yourself, this looks great, it's speaking to me, it's saying everything that I want to do and all that good stuff, you want to make sure that you're looking at the qualifications, the minimum qualifications that are required by that job opportunity. And the way I look at it is it's an open book test. Okay, you have the job rec there. We're not hiding anything from you. We're telling you exactly what we need as a minimum to start pushing you along in the process. So use that job requisition as your open book. Your test is to incorporate those minimum qualifications into your application and onto your resume. Again, think beyond your MOS. So, yeah, I was an infantry guy, but you know what? I also ran teams. I have project management. I was in charge of administering the APFT, so I had to set all that up for whatever. Maybe you did it for your platoon and you had 50 people in your platoon. So you're running that entire program for the day or half day or whatever it was, right? So think beyond the MOS and look at ways to say, yes, I did that, or I had to step into this role when my superior was out and I had to step in and run this for them. You have that experience and make sure that you're using it where you can in there. So during that process, make sure you're thinking in that kind of a mindset. The supplemental questions that were talked about, that's really important. Be thorough on every single question. Do not think because you answered the first question, you can just not really answer it in the next question, even if it's half of it's the same. Be thorough, be repetitive if you have to be, but answer every single question like it's the first time you answered that question ever. And be thorough, and every piece that it's asking for, answer it all. And I really kind of nailed that one because if I was an instructor, I'd be banging on the desk when I was talking about it to make sure you understand the importance of that. Because like what was said, you will get screened out if you're not filling those out appropriately. So very important. So that's a few of the key things that I would say would be some really good things to do when applying.
And I'll piggyback off of that too, just because I think you hit the nail on the head in that, just because you may have done one thing in a part of your life, if you're wanting to do a career pivot, it doesn't mean necessarily that you don't have transferable skills. There are certain core competencies when looking at a job classification. So again, using the assistant planner as an example, when you pull up a job spec, look through it not just for what that position is going to do, but what skills would be needed to be able to successfully perform the essential functions of those positions. And do you have enough foundational background with those specific skills that you can reasonably, with a degree of training, a reasonable amount of training, because we do anticipate that people will need to be trained when they come into a position. So if you have enough of those transferable skills that the level of training required is reasonable during that probationary period, that we can get you up to speed, then that position might be a good opportunity for you. I mean, obviously there are certain positions that's not going to work. If you're applying to be a doctor and you never went to med school, it doesn't matter what background you had. Those are not necessarily going to be the core competencies that are going to render you eligible for the position. But there are certain job skills that you can anticipate are going to be desirable in any position, and then there are ones that are more favorable for it. So whether it's a communication skills or interpersonal abilities, leadership, problem solving, these are all things that are transferable from whatever you did, likely in your prior background, to the next opportunity, whatever that may look like. It's just a matter of figuring out how you can market and kind of be very self-aware of what those skills are that you bring to the table, and find a way to ensure that you are marketing yourself to demonstrate that you have that skill set. And it extends beyond skills too. It's values. You know, we are an environment that is focused on hard work ethic and honesty and integrity and adaptability and flexibility. Those are values that if you have and that you have fine-tuned and smoothed over in your lifetime of experience, that you can bring to the table as part of the package that is you, that's going to make you more desirable to us as an employer. And we want to ensure that those individuals that we're bringing on board to the county team are ones that are going to help to drive that positive culture and to enhance the experience that not just you have or our customers have, but those with whom you work around have. So that's part of that cultural experience with the county, but how you can do that career pivot doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have done that exact thing before. There are certain things that are transferable that you can capitalize on. Sorry.
No, thank you for that. It's a lot of really great information and definitely encouraging for sure. So I have another question for y'all. Does the county offer any benefits that are specific to veterans?
You know, you mind if I jump in on that one?
Go for it.
Thank you. So, you know, yes, Monterey County is a super strong supporter of veterans. It has a tremendous, rich military history. The county as a whole, you know, from the former Fort Ord to Naval Postgraduate School, the Presidio, DLI, Fort Hunter Liggett, Camp Roberts. I mean, this is a military-rich environment, and the veterans are appreciated by the county, absolutely. And the county has had a long-established veterans preference policy in its hiring practices, which is fantastic. They were incorporating this, before it was a thing. So we're actually in the process of looking further into that policy and revamping it and making it even more robust than it currently is. And in addition, veterans have access to the Military and Veterans Affairs Office, which is my office, to help with all of the different benefits that they have throughout the state and throughout the federal different organizations, whether it's the VA or VHA or VBA or the California State Veterans Affairs Office. So we're available to do that. We also do workshops, typically during the benefits enrollment period, where we'll give information out for veterans as well. So we're very forward-leaning in that. The County of Monterey, we fully, and when I say we, obviously I do understand because of my military background, but the county understands the value that a veteran brings. And you know, Julie touched on a few of the things, and I'll tell you, you know, from all of the different leadership components and values and all of that that's been ingrained into us as veterans, really enables us to fit squarely into, again, the mission and direction that the county is going. We have accelerated learning curve, right? You could drop us in any situation, we'll figure it out, right? You tell me what the end result is, I'll figure it out. You don't need to hold my hand through it. I will figure it out. And we understand that. Leadership is built in. Teamwork is built in. Diversity and inclusion is from day one. Guess what? When I was in the Marine Corps going through boot camp and they shaved all of our heads, they said, guess what? You are not white. You are not black. You are not anything. You are green. Everybody's green. Let's go, right? So you fit right in, and you look to the left and the right, and you were a team. Diversity and inclusion was everybody working together for the common goals and missions, and we made things happen. We show up on time, right? We know how to show up on time. We know how to get the job done. We're efficient under pressure. You know, what some people consider pressure, we don't consider it pressure. It's like, oh, I thought this is just kind of how it is, right? Get it done. It's supposed to be done yesterday, right? So, you know, respect for procedures. We understand hierarchy. We understand chain of command. We understand integrity, obviously. And in today's environment, we understand health and safety standards, right? So all of these things, you know, help build us to who we are and what the package that we bring to the table really is. And that's why Monterey County wants veterans in its rank structure. And I'll tell you what, the county, in addition to all of that, is so pro the military that some of us, right, who are veterans, we served active duty, we got out, and now we're doing stints in the reserves or National Guard. The county has put together, and I was involved with the last editing of this, the military leave policy that we have is extremely generous. And I will tell you that in my time, it is up there with at least the top three that I've seen throughout the nation as far as the military leave policy is concerned. Super, super generous, whether you're being put on for active duties, for training, leadership schools, you're getting deployed, or you're doing some stuff for wildfires or riots or what have you. The county will absolutely take care of you during that time, both financially, by paying you you're paying your full salary the first month while you're gone on active duty, and then augmenting your income for the remaining 11 months of the year, for as long as you're on active duty, augmenting your income to where you won't lose a nickel. If you're making less with your military pay, they will bring your pay back up to match what you were making at the county. So without a doubt, this is by far one of the most robust military and leave policies that I've ever seen. So there's other things that are going underway. There's things that I'm involved with to also be additional resources for the veterans of the county. Can't really talk about it too much right now because it hasn't came to fruition, but I am working with a few different key players within the county to make that come to fruition, and I would think that would happen by next fiscal year, which would be July 1. So lots of great things, and so, you know, I'll throw it back to Julie if I missed anything. Thank you.
No, I think that your charisma I couldn't possibly compete with. I love that. No, you hit the nail on the head. You know, I really think that as part of our culture, we really do, just in the way that the policies are established and how we implement what we do, we strive to ensure that we are recognizing the contributions that people provide to the community and the constituents and our nation as a whole. And I think that the policy that we do have with regards to leave and in general is a demonstration of that appreciation for the contributions. So I think you stated it quite well, and I don't think I could possibly state it better. So absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And so our last question for you guys, what general information could you provide regarding marketing your job skills to support, pivoting their career?
So I know I touched on it a little bit already, but when you are, I really think that when you are in one career and you're pivoting to another career, there are so many skills and values that are transferable from one to another. And so, while there is lots of theories related to how to interview effectively, how to prepare for these types of things, I truly, as an HR professional, am a believer that by focusing on those competencies, by looking at what skills are required for a position, by looking at what values you bring to the table that will contribute to a healthy culture, you are going to be able to market yourself for that career pivot successfully, despite the fact that you may not have the exact experience that is going to make you able to take off the second that you hit the ground running in the position. And so I would recommend really trying, if you are doing one of those career pivots from one type of career to another, to do that. And through the interview process, I think that the best way to demonstrate it is through a behavioral-based interviewing kind of approach. And so what I would suggest, and what I've suggested for my entire career whenever asked questions about how to give yourself a competitive edge over other candidates, is to identify what are the skills for the position that are required or necessary or needed for the position that you're interested in pursuing. And then B, identify examples of when you have demonstrated competency in performing those skills, whether it's exactly related to, that specific industry, or whether it is, again, just focusing on the skill of leadership, an instance in time in your professional career where things were not clear and individuals needed better direction, and you were able to step in to support the execution of whatever it is that you're trying to do in a fair and effective way. So, what are those examples? And so I genuinely think that if you look at it from a skill perspective and you identify prior to going into any kind of an interview or conversation, ideally 3 examples of every type of skill, when you find yourself in one of those really intense, stressful interview situations, you've already thought through in advance what your experiences are demonstrating those skills. And I can tell you, in that moment, you aren't going to have to dig quite as deep, because you'll find that it comes up relatively quickly. And why I say 3 examples is because you can sprinkle them throughout without repeating the same examples again and again in the interview process. And so I genuinely find and believe that by focusing on that approach when doing a career pivot, it becomes less about how many cases have you processed and more about your ability to organize yourself in a manner that can effectively process a case. So does that make sense? I'm hoping that's clear. But those are my primary recommendations, and not to forget values, because values, again, are a core element that you can demonstrate in an interview, recruitment, exam process that will make you desirable. Like the number of times that I have gone through interview processes and proctored and had debriefs with executive teams and other managers where we have all these candidates, and maybe this candidate might have direct experience, but this candidate from the side has demonstrated something exemplary. And the skills affiliated with the exact processing of X, Y, and Z, we can teach that. And we as an employer have historically demonstrated a willingness to invest time and resources to get somebody that demonstrates the type of cultural values that we see as important. We're willing to invest the time to get that person up to speed with the things that are easy to teach, but you can't teach honesty. You can't teach some of the values that drive the culture that we believe that we have, that we strive to ensure that we're representing in our community. So that's my thoughts.
Real quick, can I just kind of piggyback just like 3 sentences maybe?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and this goes back to the veteran piece, right? So a very, very small percentage of us in the U.S. are veterans, right? And a very small percentage of us, this very small percentage, actually took those steps and signed the dotted line, raised our right hand and signed the dotted line. Automatically, right at the very beginning, that is a statement of your character, right? The statement of your character began at that moment, right? That already just showed who you are. And I will tell everybody that as a veteran, you had this character in you before you joined the military. So when you got out, you didn't lose it, right? It's who you are. So just because you shed the uniform doesn't mean you shed those values and that character, right? You are that person. Now, the military, don't get me wrong, it helped mold it. It helped, bake it in. It did. But you came to the table with something to begin with when you signed that dotted line and you raised that right hand. So I know many, many hiring managers, many through my years of professional life, that choose to hire character over skill because, again, just like Julie said, skill can be taught, right? So it's the character piece. And I'll tell you what, you match up a veteran to a lot of these folks today in the younger group, and it's night and day difference in a lot of it. So, I won't go too deep down that road, but I'll tell you what, there is nothing better than a veteran coming through the door ready to make things happen. And it's just like Julie was saying, it's a matter of you being able to articulate that and making that known in the interviews and really kind of shining on those key things that she talked about. But the main point that I wanted to get out there was, don't forget that you are embodying this character, and you showed it from the day you signed that line, right? And then it got baked into you, and now here you are as a veteran on the other side, ready to pull your boots back on and make it happen just for a different mission. All right, so that's it. I just wanted to throw that in.
Thank you so much for that word of wisdom. I mean, I completely agree with you and with you guys that skill can definitely be taught. And I think that's what a lot of what we're running into in many of our veterans is that if they don't have the skill set, they shy away from applying for an opportunity where, character can perform that particular job. So I completely agree. So in sake of time, we have about 2 minutes. I would like to open up the floor for anybody that's on a participant that would like to ask additional questions for us. Please ask away. So I'm going to leave this open for everybody.
Oh, come on. I drank my Red Bull before this.
Don't everybody talk at once.
I'll pick up.
Okay.
Hi, it's Ray Creek with the Employment Development Department covering both Monterey and Santa Cruz counties. And Julie, thanks for taking the time today to reach out and give us some testimony. It's very in-depth. As Jason says, too, is that we are in the Veterans Program over here, and I couldn't have a better campaign manager than Jason telling us of how well we do. But it's important because as a leader, I reach out to employers. Mm-hmm. When we have a veteran that goes through our DBOP, which is online here today with Fernando and Amy, when those veterans are considered job ready, that's when I come into play. And it's so important to have that contact with employers and also to understand what that criteria is. Because one of the things that we've lost over the last few years is we recommend an employer or an employee and it comes back. And to get back to that employer if he was not hired is why. why was he not picked? And we realize that the legal aspects of saying things like that today, but it breaks that connection because it's hard for us to go back to that veteran right then and say, here's the reason why. So, those are areas that we're always looking to improve so that we can really service the veteran. But meetings like this give us a good input because typically when we meet with a veteran after that, he has a good idea of maybe what went wrong, and a lot of them is the interviewing process. The interviewing process comes up time and time again, and we find that did you do some homework? Did you invest into some knowledge about the company and ask questions? No, I didn't. So those are things we try to drive home to them, is to get involved, understand the company. It's a two-way street.
Right.
If that's where you want to work, find out about it. So thank you again for taking the time
to take it one step further, it's really, and I totally understand, it can be really challenging for an employee or somebody who is a candidate looking for a job, and they're going through an interview process, and they're giving their all, and they're doing everything that they can. And the challenge is that we can't necessarily share information regarding other candidates. And so the unknown is, even if you feel that you knocked it out of the park, you don't necessarily know what your competition is. And you don't necessarily know what is the primary focus of what they're looking for a given position. So, for example, I have had instances in time where there was a heavier focus on a demonstration or a need for a hiring decision to be made that can demonstrate stronger managerial leadership skills. And so while there was a core element of the position that required a skill-based knowledge related to the topic area, that element was easier trained, or believed to be easier trained, than the innate leadership abilities that a person came forward with. And so while we ended up with an interview pool of candidates where some were more skilled from a technical perspective on the subject matter, and others were more skilled from a technical perspective and a leadership ability on that element, it was two very different types of skills. And there's almost an assumption that the skill is going to first start on the side of the topic area as opposed to the leadership side. And so I've heard candidates say, I am the most qualified person, or they see who is hired and they say, I'm more qualified than them. But what they don't understand is there are other skills. There are soft skills. There is, the value-based information that is obtained throughout the course of the recruitment and exam process. There is so much more than just, I've processed 20,000 of these and they've only processed 10. So does that make sense? It's hard to communicate what the specifics are, but it's not necessarily that they bombed the interview. It might just be that they were among a few great candidates, and they had to really, the interview panel and the hiring manager had to look at, for this specific vacancy, for this specific team, we have a greater need for leadership, or we have a greater need for somebody that can rally and get people on board and really help to drive a culture that is going to be productive so people want to come to work. Maybe we have some discontent and frustration happening in that team. So it's so much bigger than just the content of knowledge related to the subject matter. And it's not to say that's not important, but it's hard to tell somebody you did something wrong in the interview, because sometimes it's not that at all. Sometimes it's just circumstances and a greater picture that can't necessarily be shared beyond. But I would recommend asking that question during, and recommending that people ask that question during the interview process. For this position, what do you see as being the most important skills that the leader or the person coming into the position would need to have? And if you ask that question, you may find out that that team is really needing somebody that can be a leader, or maybe that team really needs somebody that can help to lead people from a more strategic skill-based on the topic area, or, you can find information out that way that will help you to determine how to respond to questions, what type of information to give out. And I would say that's probably one of the most meaningful questions you can ask if you really truly want to know.
And if I could just chime in real quick, I know we're past the time, but I think that we're enjoying this. If you don't mind. So resiliency, right? So look, you apply to one job, you get one interview. The chances of landing that job is probably, the percentages are lower, right? So we have to incorporate this idea of resiliency and be positive in the outcome no matter what it is. And I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but if I was a veteran on the other side of this call listening to it, I would think to myself, okay, you know what, even if I didn't get that job, what did I learn out of it? Did I get some experience interviewing? Right? Where did I shine? What do I need to brush up on so I can answer those types of things better? What can I do to make myself better? I need to be resilient. The person who does cold call telemarketing, right? It's, after 10 no's, maybe I'll get a yes, right? They're constantly getting told no, and we got to learn to accept the no and move forward from there. And like you had mentioned, Ray, the research piece, right? You got to put a little work in, right? You got to do a little bit of research because it's going to make you more confident. And I'll tell you, this is what I tell folks when I was in the employment world. What I would tell people is, look, a $5 resume will get you a $5 job, right? A $10 effort is going to get you a $10 result. So, you decide. Put more time and effort into what you're doing, and you're going to get a better result end of the day. That's my little 2 cents.
Yeah, we totally agree. We totally, completely agree with your guys' words of wisdom. And that's actually a couple of things that we also like to not only just reinforce that statement within our veteran, but we continue to keep teaching that because, a lot of our vets do go back to work and then they come back unemployed again and they forget that structure. So we do our best to reinstitute that back into in their knowledge base and put it back into their toolbox. Any other additional questions or comments that anybody would like to share? All right. It doesn't look like it. We don't have any other additional questions or comments. So what I'm going to do is, if you do have any questions or any suggestions for us, please shoot us an email directly, and then we can go ahead and send that over to our wonderful, awesome guest today. But yeah, so that will pretty much conclude our informational interview. Thank you so much, Jason, Julie. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. We'll definitely collaborate again and do another similar situation like this. And thank you.
Yeah,
sounds good. Thank you for having us.
Likewise. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.
Wonderful.
Thank you all. Good day.